Good morning, Kuhner country. Okay, holy mackerel. So already now we have a massive scandal brewing, and President Trump just signed the bill to release the Epstein files. He did this yesterday. Now Pam Bondi and the Department of Justice have 30 days. The clock is ticking to release all of the unclassified files held by the Department of Justice, the FBI, and the federal government. So already, as Trump has now signed this bill, it is now law. All of the Epstein files must be released. And already now we have a major scandal. So here is exactly what has taken place. We touched on it yesterday. Today, we're going to drill down a little deeper because this scandal, holy shamoli, is getting bigger and bigger by the second. As you know, the Virgin Islands is not a state. Obviously, it's a territory. They do, however, send what's called a delegate to Congress, to the House of Representatives. This delegate, this representative, in the case Stacey Plaskett, she represents the Virgin Islands, which, remember, that's where Jeffrey Epstein had his private, what was known as Orgy Island. The infamous Epstein Island was a private island in the Virgin Islands. She can't vote. She's a non-voting member of Congress. However, she can sit on committees, which she does. She can ask questions. She can get access to all kinds of information. And she's there also to monitor and observe anything that goes on in Congress. Okay. As has now come out, during a high-profile congressional inquiry in 2019, former Trump attorney Michael Cohen was being grilled by members of Congress. And of course, Stacey Plaskett was one of those members on that committee that was doing the questioning and the grilling. It has now come out through the release of some of these Epstein files. This is before Trump signed anything. This was from the Epstein estate that was released last week through the House Oversight Committee. It turned out that, listen now to this Democrat, this member of the Congressional Black Caucus, was literally being coached by Epstein throughout the entire inquiry. She was directly colluding. Now remember, this is 2019. He is a convicted pedo. There were already stories in the papers that he was going to be charged with sex trafficking. He's one of the most notorious pedophiles in the history of the United States. And she is allowing herself to not just constantly communicate with him. She's not just colluding with him. She's literally being coached by Epstein on what specific questions to ask Michael Cohen. He's guiding her step by step by step. Now, that's already a scandal. So let me get this straight. You were so in his pocket that this guy has your private number and he's texting you. And he's not only texting you, he's telling you what you should ask Michael Cohen. Now, in real time, as this is happening, he's texting her saying, ask about the Moscow project. Ask about, he's going on to say, push on the Stormy Daniels issue. You can see the tape. As the text messages are coming in, she's literally asking, those aren't her questions. They were Epstein's questions. She's literally repeating verbatim, word for word, everything that Epstein is feeding her. This convicted pedophile. And he's feeding her, and she's just like a drone, mindlessly repeating everything that this guy is telling her to say. That's because, as we found out, she was swimming in Epstein money. Campaign contribution after campaign contribution after campaign contribution. He owned her lock, stock, and barrel. And that's very obvious. So that's the first problem. But then comes the second problem. The second problem is once this is found out, this was found out, the people were so disgusted by how closely she collaborated with Epstein, and how even though she's talking not just to a convicted pedophile, she's literally taking instructions and talking points from this convicted pedophile. So that's how much he was controlling the Democrats. That's how much power and clout and influence he had. So they censured her, or they were going to censure her. And initially, it appeared they had the votes. They had a majority to advance the censure. But then, and to remove her off of that committee. So she would lose her committee seat, so this could never happen again, and she would be censured, which is essentially a slap on the wrist. You're not fined. You don't lose money. It's just, they put it in a book somewhere, that she was censured. So it's a bit of a black mark. That's it. But then something happened. In a 214 to 209 vote, all of the Democrats and then 3 Republicans voted against censuring Stacey Plaskett. 3 more Republicans voted present. And people were stunned. How could this be? Here is an open Epstein collaborator, a Democrat, colluding with one of the most disgraced, disgusting, notorious pedophiles in the history, forget the United States, of the world. Literally being coached, instructed on how to ask questions about Michael Cohen, because Epstein so hated Trump. He wanted to make Epstein wanted to make Cohen give out as much damaging information as possible. His goal was to taint Trump, hurt Trump, undermine Trump, and he was using Plaskett to do it. She escapes the censure. She then goes on, "This is CNN." Now, listen to this. Even on CNN, they're saying, well, okay, you escaped censure. They voted against it. But why were you communicating with a notorious convicted sexual predator? Like, how does that happen? Listen to her incredible response. Roll cut 16, a mic.
I believe that Jeffrey Epstein had information, and I was going to get information to get at the truth. Having a friendship with him is not something that I would deem to have. And so I'm just looking forward. I'm moving forward. And I think that that's what we as American people should do, is move forward. If individuals are not involved in illegal activity, extending his criminal enterprise or his financial enterprise or all of those things, I think that we need to look at what people are doing moving forward.
Wait, let me just better understand that. What is that point? Because at the time he was a known sex offender and it had been detailed all the sexual abuse.
There are a lot of people who have done a lot of crimes, and as a prosecutor, you get information from people where you can.
What? There's a lot of people who do a lot of crimes? Oh, excuse me? And by the way, since when is she a quote-unquote prosecutor? She's a member of Congress, a non-voting member of Congress, may I add. A delegate, as they say, from the Virgin Islands. So now it's, well, hey, people commit crimes. I don't know what else to tell you. It's a ridiculous, pathetic answer. You can see it on the hosts on CNN. Their faces drop. They can't believe, is this woman really that dumb or that corrupt? Now, this is the scandal on top of everything else. Why? Why did 6 Republicans take a dive? Why did 3 vote against and 3 vote present? to give the Democrats what they wanted, which was to protect Stacey Plaskett and prevent the censure. Because Republican House leadership combined with Democrat House leadership, Speaker Johnson and Hakeem Jeffries, cut a backroom deal. And the backroom deal was that the Democrats were planning to censure a Republican Florida congressman, Corey Mills. Apparently now, Mills's ex-girlfriend, who was apparently she was Miss USA, I think 2024. Anyway, she's a beauty pageant winner, says that he threatened to release nude pictures and images and videos of her. And he was going to blackmail her. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, disgusting scandal. But there's just no other way to put it. So let me tell you exactly. I had to rush it a little bit at the end there. So Stacey Plaskett, this is now undeniable, irrefutable. We have the text messages. We know we have the emails confirming the text messages. So she was taking literally, in fact, tens of thousands of dollars. She was swimming in Epstein money. She took money from him again and again. This is after he became a notorious convicted pedophile. Obviously, she gave him her personal cell number. They were on very close, intimate terms. He texted her at will. He knew her private number. He is literally coaching her on how to grill or, ask questions of Michael Cohen. This is in 2019 in order to go after Trump. He's obsessed with getting Trump. And he's using Stacey Plaskett as his tool and saying, okay, ask this, ask that, go here, mention this. So she's in his pocket. It's so obvious she's in his pocket. Now, right off the bat, she is colluding, openly colluding with one of the most despicable, evil predators, sexual predators in the history of the United States. That should have been the end of her career right there on the spot once this came out. Forget a censure. Okay, this should have been the end of her. No. And they couldn't even then muster the votes to censure her, which again was, how can that be? Because they clearly had the votes initially, just hours before, when they advanced the motion to censure her. In other words, to put it up, for a vote to censure her. So 6 Republicans then, unexpectedly, took essentially a dive. 3 voted explicitly against censure. 3 voted present. So that enabled all the Democrats who voted against censure, plus these 3 Republicans, to go to 214, and that's it. It was over. Stacey Plaskett was now protected from being censured, essentially saving her political career. Now we find out that this was all part of a backroom deal, a sleazy, shady backroom deal. And the reason why we know this is because of Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna from Florida, MAGA Republican. She is a straight shooter. She's honest. She's decent. She's a veteran. She's somebody who takes her constitutional oath seriously. She's not for sale. When she found out about this, she blew the whistle. And so here apparently was the disgusting details of the deal. Congressman Corey Mills from Florida. Apparently the Democrats were going to censure him. Say, you go after Plaskett, we're going to censure Corey Mills. Now, why would they censure Congressman Republican from Florida, Corey Mills? Apparently, he had a former girlfriend. She, as I said, a former Miss America, a state committee woman as well. She's active in Republican politics. And according to her, and a judge agreed with her, which is why she got a restraining order against the congressman to not come anywhere near her or to release nude images or pictures of her. But apparently Corey Mills said, you know what? Nobody leaves Corey Mills. Who are you to leave me? How dare you? He blackmailed her and said, you date someone else, you go out with someone else, you get another boyfriend, I am going to release nude pictures and videos that I have of you online. Apparently, according to the girlfriend, or now the ex-girlfriend, she also said he threatened to kill anybody that she dated. And so she got a restraining order from a judge against this Florida Republican congressman. And so the Democrats said, okay, we're going to censure Corey Mills. And once we censure Corey Mills, we're then going to refer him to the House Ethics Committee. And once he goes to the House Ethics Committee, who knows? He may be stripped of his committee assignments. I mean, this could become a full-blown scandal. So, what do Mike Johnson and Steve Scalise do? They call on over Hakeem Jeffries and Catherine Clark. Congresswoman Clark, Hakeem Jeffries, and they cut a deal. They cut a deal. You guys don't censure Plaskett. You make sure you have enough votes that she doesn't get censured. We protect her rear end. I scratch her back. And then we're going to withdraw the censure for Corey Mills. And you scratch our back. You see how it's played? We take care of you. You take care of us. Nobody gets censured. Nobody. That's how much they care about the victims. That's how much Jeffrey Epstein really outrages the people on Capitol Hill. That they're willing to do these sleazy backroom deals. Listen now to Anna Paulina Luna. I don't know if I have time. I don't think so. I'm going to play it on the other side. Okay, yeah, I'll play it on the other side. And then I want to start taking your calls. 617-266-6868 is the number. My question to you, should the Republicans have censured Congresswoman, Democrat Stacey Plaskett? And are we already now watching a cover-up of prominent Democrats who had very close ties to Epstein? Already they're covering their tracks. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, this is from Mark on Messenger. And as usual, I think Mark hits the nail right on the head. Jeff, I'm sorry, but not only should Stacey Plaskett be censured, she should be removed from office. Jeff, what do these people have to do to be held accountable for their actions? So I guess being coached by a convicted child molester / sex trafficker on the House floor during a hearing isn't enough? You're completely right. I mean, she's literally being coached by a convicted child molester and sex trafficker. I mean, right there on the House floor, in real time. And again, I could play you the clips. I don't want to waste your time. The text messages come in, and then 20 seconds later, it comes out of her mouth. You're like, my God, does he own her? And I'm telling you, this is just the tip of the iceberg. That's why they didn't want her censured, the Democrats. Because do you know how many times he's done this to other Democrat members of Congress? You think this is the only one? See, this is what I mean. This Epstein files is going to boomerang against the Democrats. Epstein was a major Democrat fundraiser, a major Democrat donor. So what you just saw now with Plaskett, that's just the beginning. Basically, he said hi, and he said jump, and she said how high. That's what I'm just telling you, that's what it was. Anyway, Mark continues. Jeff, but they've been getting away with doing whatever they want, i.e. the Democrats, for so long now, they feel that they are bulletproof to anything. But hopefully in 30 days, we will now find out how bulletproof they really are. Well, now it's all in Pam Bondi's court. She's got 30 days to release the Epstein files. She says that she's going to be as transparent as possible. She's going to release practically everything. We shall see. But now the clock is ticking. Now, very quickly, and again, very good points, Mark, as usual. This is from Larry in Arkansas. Jeff, this is now definitive proof. The Democrats never cared about the Epstein scandal or their victims. They're just trying to tie Epstein to President Trump. Bingo. Because you see, if they did care about the victims, and if they were truly disgusted by Epstein and outraged at Epstein, again, a convicted pedo, okay, he's a pedophile. You wouldn't have been taking money. Remember, this is all after he's convicted. We're not talking, and by the way, Trump cut ties with Epstein years before he was convicted. Years. This is undeniable. This is after he's pled guilty, after he's been convicted. So everybody knew who Epstein was. They're taking money from him. They're partying with him. They're doing fundraisers with him. They're literally having dinner with him. They're text messaging. They're taking their marching orders from him. They're being coached by him. So, let me ask all of you, would you have anything to do with a freaking convicted pedophile who was molesting thousands, potentially hundreds, if not thousands of underage girls? Would you be, okay, you want me to ask this question? You got it, Jeff. Yep, you got it. They never cared about the victims. And that's why for 4 years under Joey, they never released a single document, a single email, a single file, nothing. They sat on the Epstein files because they were protecting one of their own. Remember, he was also a big donor to the Bidens, a big donor to the Obamas. Now it's come out that Hakeem Jeffries was soliciting money from Epstein, campaign donations. Now it's come out that they had a private dinner. Hakeem Jeffries, Barack Obama, and Epstein were breaking bread together. And this was 5 years after the conviction. 5 years after he's a convicted pedophile. But Trump. What did Trump know? What did Trump do? Oh my God, Trump. Larry continues. Jeff, my favorite, and it's a bit funny. I mean, it's gross because it's Epstein, but it's actually a bit funny. The way he just orders her around, like in these text messages. The way he's just, no, ask about this. Like by the way, he treats her with contempt, like she's a moron. Like you should see the contempt he has for her. Anyway, Larry writes, Jeff, my favorite is Epstein berating Stacey Plaskett for chewing gum during the hearing. So he's, sorry that you laugh or you cry. He's like, what are you doing chewing gum? He's like, you're on TV. Like he's watching this live on TV. Everybody was. Cohen was, he was going to spill the beans on Trump. Of course, nothing happened. But there was huge media hype, huge media coverage. So, Epstein is watching this on cable TV live and texting her. And he's like, stop chewing gum. You look like a fool. And he's like, no, ask this. Well, who's this? You don't know? That's his executive assistant. To ask Michael Cohen to talk about Trump's executive assistant. Maybe he's got some dirt there. Go. So he's literally, forget coaching her. He's instructing her. He's ordering her. He's asking the questions through her. And these losers can't censure her? Mark is completely right. She should be out of Congress. She should be gone. Now remember, she was taking tons of campaign cash after he was a convicted pedophile. And she still took money. And she was still on a private basis with him. And this line now that they're giving, well, I talked to my constituents. Really? Name me one other constituent in the Virgin Islands that has your private cell phone. Come on, Stacey, I dare you. I dare you. That, not only has your private cell phone, but is texting you nonstop. Show me. Name me one. Outside of Epstein, name me one. You phony, you fraud, you. And for what? This is what I'm talking about. You're going to sell your soul. I'm talking about the Republican leadership now. And look, I got to be honest. Apparently, I don't want to get into motives. I don't want to get into what's in people's hearts. I don't want to get into their religious views and faith. And that's a very private thing. But I'm just going by what's been said in public. They say Mike Johnson is a very devout Christian. They say apparently he's a very devout Baptist. Okay, I'll accept that at its face value. How do you look at yourself in the mirror, man? The least you do is censure this woman. That's the bare minimum. And you trade that censure so the Democrats withdraw their censure regarding Corey Mills? Because apparently it came out, according to his ex-girlfriend, that he was blackmailing her and saying, you better not date another man, because if you do, I'm going to release nude pictures of you that I have and nude videos. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, a couple lines are open if you want to jump on. I promise I'm going to get to the calls very soon. 617-266-6868. All right, so we wouldn't have known any of this. I'm talking about the backroom deal. We wouldn't have known any of this had it not been for Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna, MAGA Republican from Florida. So it was just baffling. Everybody was like, what? So they had all the votes to advance the measure to censure her. And then when it came to the actual vote to censure Stacey Plaskett, all of a sudden, you've got 6 Republicans, 3 vote against, 3 vote present. What just happened? How did 6 of them just flip like this? Well, now we know why. Listen now to Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna. She goes right on the congressional floor. And she says, no one else has got the guts to say it. I'm going to say it. They cut a dirty, shady backroom deal. Roll cut 15, Mike.
For what purpose does the gentlelady from Florida seek recognition?
I have a parliamentary inquiry.
The gentlelady from Florida will state her inquiry.
I was wondering if the Speaker of the House of Representatives can explain why leadership on both sides, both Democrat and Republican, are cutting back-end deals to cover up public corruption in the House of Representatives from both Republican and Democrat members of Congress.
The gentlelady has not stated a proper parliamentary inquiry.
Thank you very much, but I think the American people know what happened tonight.
These guys, I'm telling you, it's not a proper parliamentary inquiry. Damn it! This is a backroom deal. This is supposed to stay in the back room. What the hell's going on here? We don't want the peasants to know what we're doing. I mean, it's unbelievable. Honestly, unbelievable. Let me just, this is from 603. It just hits the nail right on the head. By the way, you can text the Kuhner Man, 70470. Jeff, in essence, this is a case of, quote, you protect our scumbag and we'll protect your scumbag. That is so true. Well, I'm sorry, Mike Johnson, but if Corey Mills was doing what he's accused of, then we don't want him in the Republican Party. Voting majorities be damned. We're trying to purge the scumbags out of our party, not keep them. This was a bad deal and a bad trade-off. 603, I agree with you, not 100, 1,000%. The only thing I would add, very bad deal, very bad trade-off. I would just add 2 verys in there. That's it. What are you protecting Corey Mills for? So let him get censured. Good. Let him, fine. Let him be referred to the House Ethics Committee. If what his ex-girlfriend is alleging is true, and there's a restraining order from a judge to back it up, who the hell wants Corey Mills in Congress? But I want Stacey Plaskett to be held in some way, at least be a little shamed. I want her, at least a minimum is a censure, for God's sake. Again, Democrats play smash mouth football, Republicans play badminton. All right, let me just play one more cut, then I'm going to go to the phone lines. In fact, let me play two. Just have a little bit of fun. I'm going to play a second cut. This is now Raskin. So Moonbat, Jamie Raskin from Maryland. He was on the J6 committee. Rabid anti-Trumper. Now, let me tell you right now, if there was documents showing that Epstein in 2019 was texting Donald Trump and telling him what he should be saying and what he should not be saying, and that he was colluding with Trump and coaching Trump. In other words, replace Plaskett with Trump. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. No, I'm serious. They'd hang him. No, I'm telling you, that's it. There would be a lynching right there at the White House. The media would go berserk. The Democrats would go berserk. The rhino Republicans, oh my God, impeach, no. I mean, it would have been the end of the world. You're in contact with a convicted pedo. You're taking coaching from a convicted pedo. You're taking money from a convicted pedo. Oh, my God. It would be the scandal. I'm telling you, Trump would politically be finished. Listen now to Raskin. Now it's one of their own, and she's not the only one. I'm telling you, there are tons of Democrats who did exactly what she did. That's the problem they're in now. That's when I said yesterday, releasing those files is going to detonate a neutron bomb. And it's going to take down a lot of Democrats. They're going to rue the day they did this. Okay, here's Raskin. Roll cut 22, Mike.
We've had enough of the cover-up. We want all of the truth. We want the survivors and the victims to have the possibility of accountability. Well, they want to give them another headline, which is that they've arraigned a Democratic member for taking a phone call from her constituent, Jeffrey Epstein, in the middle of a hearing. And, of course, I don't think there's any rule here against taking phone calls in a hearing. Now, if you want to actually give her the chance to explain what happened, then we would take it to the Ethics Committee. I still don't see what the charge is. Where is the ethical transgression? Where is the legal transgression? Are you saying anybody on your side of the aisle who had a phone call with Jeffrey Epstein should be censured? Be careful your answer there, because there's a lot more that's about to come out, right? So you should think about what is the principle behind this rush to judgment.
This rush to judgment. First of all, he's such a clown. By the way, his hair is ridiculous. I don't know if you know him, if you've seen him on TV, but this guy, his hair, you look at him and you're like, I can't take you seriously. Like, dude, what are you, 65, 70, 75, or whatever he is? This is your hair? Okay, anyway. But let that go. First of all, it wasn't even a phone call. He's so stupid. It wasn't a phone call. But is this Bill and Sudbury's long lost brother or something? It wasn't a phone call. These were text messages. I mean, that's how out to lunch this guy is. But now notice, all of a sudden, it's a phone call from a constituent. Now he's a constituent. He's a taxpayer. Now he's his civil rights. He has a right to be heard. But if it's Trump, Trump is just in an email. His name is just put alongside Epstein in any kind of an email. My God, Trump, he's with the most evil person in the history of the world. How dare Trump even have anything to do with Epstein? the hypocrisy is so thick you can choke on it. Now, listen to this. Okay? Don't ever say I didn't do you a favor. Don't ever say, Jeff, when I needed a laugh, you weren't there for me. No, so I'm warning everybody. If you're drinking coffee, please stop. If you're eating breakfast, whatever, munching on an egg sandwich or whatever it is, please stop, because you're going to blurt out your coffee. Okay, you're going to spit out your food. So here is Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. She runs to the floor. She's got the Republicans. She's got them. She's got them. She's got them. They're all taking money from Epstein. All of them. She's got them. Now, just so that you understand, this is their words, not mine. This is the rising star of the Democratic Party. This is like their next AOC. This is a woman. Well, I forget her name, but she's there's a big liberal moonbat, like radio host / podcaster. Anyway, when Crockett was coming into the studio to be interviewed by her, this was like maybe a week ago, this idiot woman, I swear to you, ran to the hallway, went down on her hands and knees, crawled up to Jasmine Crockett, and began to kiss her feet. I swear. Mwah, 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 mwah. She's kissing her feet, her toes. Probably even getting a couple of licks in there. Lick, and then kissing the toes. Anyway, she's there kissing the feet. Okay, she's kissing the feet. Because this woman walks on water. Like for the Dems and the Libs, this is their next superstar. Okay. Listen now to Jasmine Crockett. Here it is. Roll cut 30, Mike.
Folks who also took money from somebody named Jeffrey Epstein, as I had my team dig in very quickly. Mitt Romney, the NRCC, Lee Zeldin, George Bush, Win Red, McCain Palin, Rick Lazio. I just want to be clear. If this is the standard that we're going to make, just know we're going to expose it all. And just know that the FEC filings, they are available for everybody to review. This is absolutely ridiculous.
And she goes on, and she's getting herself all whipped up into a tizzy. There's only one problem. Oh, by the way, her team, her investigative team, looked into this. Her team. There's only one problem. Take Lee Zeldin. The person that gave him money was a Dr. Jeffrey Epstein. A Dr. Jeffrey Epstein. A completely different person than the pedophile billionaire. By the way, same thing for, McCain Palin, same thing for George W. Bush, same thing for Rick Lazio, same thing for, no, it's a Dr. Jeffrey Epstein. Obviously, he's, a hardcore Republican, and obviously he's doing well for himself, God bless him, because he's cutting checks to Republican candidates, obviously in New York or at the national level. So, it doesn't occur to her, Epstein. That's like Johnson or Smith. A lot of people are called Epstein. It's a big name. I mean, thousands and thousands of Epsteins. And, Jeffrey, I hate, sorry, but it's a common name as well. A lot of people are called Jeffrey. A lot of people are called Jeffrey Epstein. Like they're, a lot of Jeffrey Smith, a lot of Jeffrey Johnson. I'm just saying. They're not all the same. Oh my God. As I wrote on X last night, this is the future of this is the star of the Democratic Party. You can't fix stupid. You can't fix stupid. Larry Summers now just to give you the latest, he had to be resigned from OpenAI, the board. They kicked him out. Now he's no longer going to be teaching at Harvard. He groveled yesterday. He went in front of the class. He said, I'm so sorry. You got these emails now coming out that apparently Epstein was his quote-unquote wingman when it came to chasing skirts, to chasing women. And by the way, the whole time, Larry Summers is married. And he's chasing, women that are 30, 40, 50. I mean, they're above age, consensual, sexual consent. But I mean, they're much younger than him. And this guy is asking Epstein for dating and love advice? And you see this, all these emails and back and forth? This was the Treasury Secretary under Bill Clinton. This was one of the top economic advisors to Obama. This was the former president of Harvard. This was one of the key pillars of the Democratic establishment. This guy was literally palling around with Epstein, chasing women with Epstein, and was relying on Epstein for his advice on how to treat women and how to date women, how to pursue women, and how to get women. Well, he's finished. He's done. Harvard, basically, he's not teaching at Harvard. He's done, and he may now be going to jail. We shall see what happened on Epstein Island, but Larry Summers is now, he's gone. So, Epstein is dead. Ghislaine Maxwell's in prison. Larry Summers is done. Bill Clinton now is in big trouble. You've got Bill Gates in big trouble, and we're just getting started. Hakeem Jeffries now has a lot to answer for. Chuck Schumer, it now turns out, took thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars from Epstein years after he was a convicted pedo. Yeah, if I'm the Democrats, I wouldn't have voted for this if I were them. But you see, they're so desperate to get Trump. They're hoping, praying, it's a Hail Mary, that there'll be something in those files. 617-266-6868. Andy in Milford. Thanks for holding, Andy, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Andy.
Boy.
There's only one Jeffrey Epstein in the telephone book, Andy.
Yeah. Oh, boy. A lot could be said about that. But anyway, this backroom deal that's been revealed, Jeff, I've been saying to myself for weeks that the Republicans need to do a course correction. Next year, all of us in the America First grassroots, we need to do a course correction in all these Republican primaries and nomination processes across the country. The course correction is going to have to come to us. For starters, the Republican voters in Corey Mills' district need to find a decent, honest candidate and primary him and vote him out of there. And the rest of those 6 Republican Congress people that were complicit in Stacey Plaskett not getting censored, their Republican voters in their districts, they need to do the same. Primary them, get them out of there. Replace them with people that are going to be decent, honest, and are not going to be part of the swamp. And the people in the Virgin Islands that are Stacey Plaskett's constituents, they need to ask themselves, how do they feel about their territory being used as a landing ground for all of Jeffrey Epstein's evil? And how do they feel about their representative being complicit, clearly, with Epstein?
Oh, you're dead on, Andy. Andy, I promise I'll let you finish, but because you're really on fire. Look, she was politically, financially. I'm sorry, but it's an expression, but I think it works here. She was politically and financially in bed with Epstein. There's no question. I mean, if you want, I can read. I don't want to bore you. I can read to you the text messages and then play you the cuts in real time, as it was happening when she's, she's asking questions of Cohen. And you're watching this and you're like, my God, he owns her. I mean, he really owns her. Like, whatever he tells her to do, she does. And unquestioningly. Again, even like he berates her. Like, first of all, he's telling her, like, how she's dressed, but then he's like, stop chewing gum. Like, it's almost like, hey, I'll make you, I'll break you. You do as I say. My God, look at you. Look at you. Hey, take that gum out of your mouth. I mean, this is how he's talking to a member of Congress. That's the kind of control he had over her. It's unbelievable. And, Andy, just as something you said earlier about leadership, and we got to get better leadership. Look, this is my God, this is not even a layup. This is a slam dunk. How do you not censure her at a bare minimum? Embarrass her. Let the Democrats own her. Let the Democrats own this. Put them on the defensive right away. Look, it's going to go down. She was censured. Why was she censured? Whoa, what? She was taking money from Epstein? What, she was being coached by Epstein? What, she was colluding with Epstein? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Her reputation will never live it down. Again, they snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. And I think the larger point, and I'm going to let you finish, I promise, this is what's turning everybody's stomach. That's why it's a scandal. Why did they do this? Why did they tank the vote? That's what the Republicans did. They tanked the vote. They had the votes. But they told 6 people, like in a fight, like a prize fight. No. The mob is betting that you're going to lose. Do you understand? And you're going to lose in the 4th round. So in the 4th round, well, I can beat him. I don't care if you can beat him. In the 4th round, you're taking a dive. Do you understand? And to hell with your integrity. So you tell your fellow people to take a dive in order to cut a deal so that Corey Mills won't be censured? And you've got this poor woman. Again, this is a poor woman who's being terrorized by Corey Mills, his ex-girlfriend. The judge has put a restraining order. He's threatening her. He's threatening, apparently, to kill anybody who dates her. And then he claims that he's got naked pictures and naked videos of this. Her last name is Langston. Langston. That he says, I'm gonna humiliate you. I'm gonna show graphic sexual pictures of you or naked pictures of you. It's gonna go everywhere. And you protect that? Andy, final word to you.
The final word, Jeff, is this situation with Corey Mills. This is a morality issue, Jeff, that all of us need to deal with in these primaries and nominating question processes across the country. And
I agree. I completely agree. Andy, again, you hit the nail right on the head. Get rid of this bum. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, I got to say it. I'm sorry. I'm going to say it. Shouldn't say it, but I'm going to say it. So the alleged victim of Corey Mills, the ex-girlfriend, is former Miss USA 2024, Lindsay Langston. She's apparently quite big in local politics in Florida. She's a state committee woman in Columbia County in Florida. Anyway, by all accounts, successful, obviously accomplished woman. I gotta tell, what the hell was she doing with Corey Mills? Look, you're free to date anybody you want. It's a free country. Please don't get me wrong. But I'm looking at him and I'm like, what is she seeing, this loser? I mean, he's much older. And, okay, I guess he's a member of Congress. I mean, okay. But, ay. What a loser. What a loser. So anyway, apparently he's been threatening to release nude images or nude pictures of this poor woman. He's also threatened her. He's also threatened to kill anybody. She's told her if she dates anybody, he'll kill that person. If she dates someone, he'll release these nude pictures. And so he was going to be censured. And it was going to go to the House Ethics Committee. And so to cover that up, they made the deal. Okay, we'll tank the vote. We don't censure Stacey Plaskett. You withdraw the censure, the Democrats, you withdraw the censure of Corey Mills, and we keep it within the swamp. We keep it within the family. And this is why, what is it? Congress is at 6% approval? I'd love to know the 6%. That's why nobody can stand the swamp. That's why nobody trusts Congress. That's why nobody trusts politics. And by the way, all pounding the table, the victims, and that's how much they care about the victims. Jim in Florida. Speaking of Florida, thanks for holding, Jim, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff. How's it going?
Good. How are you, Jim?
Good. Here's my take. This kind of goes back a little bit what you were talking about yesterday. You said that you thought that the media would try to bury. They're just going to bury this Epstein story down the cycle pretty soon. I disagree because I think Bernie and AOC, this is a huge win for them because they can use this, and they're doing. It's happening as we speak right now. They're destroying the establishment Democrats, and they're going to get power. And I doubt any of this touches Bernie or AOC. I don't like them, but I bet you they're clean on this. Now, in the meantime, the Republicans, it's gonna help MAGA, but unfortunately, MTG perhaps blew that up. Yesterday I tried to get in and I couldn't get in because I was so busy with the phone calls. But why? To me, Trump really dropped the ball. Why didn't he just go behind scenes and talk to MTG and say, look, this is all going to play to us because it's destroying also the establishment Republican. It's destroying the uniparty, the swamp. That's who it's killing. And Trump could have separated himself from that and said, look, I cut my ties with this guy a long time ago. But yet MTG now has really taken that away from him. And so that's the part I don't get in this whole because Trump is smart. So why did he not do that? It's baffling. Unless there's something I'm missing.
Well, Jim, just to add to what you're saying, and look, this was something I recommended, not on the air, but in private, to Trump's people, and they just said no. Okay, I mean it's up to them, but I said don't sign it almost in the dark. Right. I mean, he signed it yesterday. The bill is signed. The clock is now ticking, and Pam Bondi and the DOJ have 30 days to release all the Epstein files. But what I recommended was bring all the victims. Do it at the Oval Office, surrounded by all the victims. Make a big thing out of it. In other words, get in front of it now. Don't be reactive. Don't be always responding and reacting to events. Be very proactive. Get right in front of it. Almost like take credit for the whole thing. Say, because remember, Jim, this was the problem Trump had. He said repeatedly during the campaign, we're going to release the Epstein files. In fact, how do I say this? It wasn't even an issue. It was like almost so matter of fact. Oh, yeah, we're going to release the files. Like, oh, yeah. No, don't even think about it. It was part of draining the swamp. It was part of really bringing transparency to the government and holding people in the swamp accountable. So that when he did that reversal, when he said, no, there's no there, you're still talking about Epstein. Why are you all talking about Epstein? And then the part that I think really damaged things, not irreparably, but hurt him temporarily, is when he started to say, well, if you think you should release the files, you're dumb and stupid. And I'm like, whoa, now you're and don't vote for me, or something to that effect. or I don't want your vote, or I don't want your support. And I remember like, whoa, you've never done that before. Like, A, you don't insult your own voters, but you don't want their support and you call them dumb and stupid? Like, something is going on. You've never done this before. Okay, that's water under the bridge now. What I would have done is have Virginia Giuffre's brother, other prominent advocates, victims, right beside him and sign this bill and say, you know what? We said we were going to release the files. Here are the files. I want justice. And he takes the issue completely away from everybody. Marjorie Taylor Greene, from the Democrats, from everybody. He didn't do it. So, Jim, final word to you, but I thought it was a missed opportunity even again yesterday. What say you?
I agree. It makes me think there's something brewing under the iceberg that we're not seeing, that he's going to use as leverage.
I hope so. Jim, I hope so. Fingers crossed. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay. Let me just ask all of you very quickly, because I want to go to the phone lines. Trump is making the argument, and I think there's a lot to it, that one of the reasons, not the only one, but one of the reasons why the Democrats and the media went whole hog into releasing now the Epstein files is that they wanted to pivot away, distract from their disastrous defeat during the shutdown. In other words, it was a clear repudiation of the Democrats. They played a game of chicken. They lost. It did tremendous damage to their credibility and to what's left of their popularity. And so to distract from that debacle, that absolute nightmare that they foisted upon the country, they had to find something, anything. And that's why they latched onto the Epstein files, because they needed to distract, A, from the shutdown, and B, from the fact now that Trump is really racking up, again, another $1 trillion in investment from the Saudis after the Prince Mohammed bin Salman arrived. They're inking some massive deals. This is going to eventually, it has to start turning into jobs and much higher employment and economic growth. So, in other words, not to talk about all of Trump's successes, but to just keep hammering him and creating fake hoax after fake hoax after fake hoax. And make no mistake about it, this is a Democrat hoax. Not that Epstein was a pedophile. That's not a hoax. That's a fact. Not that underage women were abused. Not that there was a pedophile global trafficking ring. That's all true. The hoax is that Trump was somehow involved or implicated. That's the hoax. And so they're hoping and praying that with the release of these files, they'll find something, anything, to tie Trump to Epstein, to pin Epstein on Trump, anything. And my deep suspicion is there's no there. There may be a there for some of Trump's donors. There may be a there in terms of the involvement of the CIA and other foreign intelligence agencies. I think that there's no question. I think it's going to embarrass a lot of very powerful, well-connected people in Washington, and especially big-time donors and bundlers. But Trump personally, look, he kicked Epstein out years before Epstein was even convicted. So this is why I'm looking at this. I'm like, my God, you're really grasping at straws. Now, in private, last point, and then I want to go to June in Worcester. In private, the media is already admitting when the files are released, all they're going to do is a search for Trump. That's it. Donald J, the letter J, Trump. And they're just going to go through all these files, whatever it's going to be, 50, 60, 70, 80,000 pages, whatever is left. And then it's just, okay, search for that name. Search. If they don't find Trump, move on. They're not interested in any other names. They're not interested in getting to the bottom of it, into telling the truth, into holding the powerful accountable, into justice for the victims. They don't give a damn. Finding out who the actual perpetrators were, who is at the heart or the key people in this sex trafficking ring. No. It's literally search term Trump, go. Donald, go. Jay, go. That's what this is all about. Agree, disagree. June in Worcester. Thanks for holding, June, and welcome.
Yeah. Hi, Jeff.
Hi.
Let's face it, we've got American citizens out on the streets protecting foreign pedophiles. Why does it, I mean, it's exactly what you just said. Epstein equals Trump. Trump's a serial adulterer. Trump this, Trump that. We've got to have a game plan. If we're lucky, we have 3 years. If we're very lucky. We've got to do something. Example, we've got to create envy of some of these illegals. We've got to show, let's take a week and show what illegals get. Send somebody from Trump's cabinet to look at some of these beautiful apartments. Let's show the actual one whole week of the criminals that have been captured by ICE. Example, let's take it to another part. Look at the prices. Take Trump's week and say, okay, we're going out to farmers. We're reducing this on the grocery store. Some kind of game plan. I remember when COVID was going on, I went somewhere and someone said, we don't want any racist, sexist, or unvaxxed people here. I went home that night and I made a list of people I didn't want. I didn't want any cheaters, adulterers, liars, con men, bad neighbors. I mean, we've got a lot to clean up. You know, any of these other people that are involved in this, they come out victorious. Even that Plaskett lady, she made it sound like she was a good citizen. But Trump, everyone's, there must be something. Why is he doing this? Why is he doing that? And as usual, he turns out to be right. Everyone is just looking at him. Oh, must be something bad with you, Trump. And I'm not saying this isn't a fight worth fighting. I don't mean it that way. I mean, we have to turn it also to our favor.
Oh, I agree.
Right now,
oh, no, June, I think you're making an absolutely superb point. Look, this is what's incredible. Like, again, think about what just happened, okay? Just objectively. Here you have Epstein, a pedophile. No question now. Convicted pedo. He is a billionaire Democrat. He's a Democrat. He's a Democrat donor. He's a Democrat fundraiser. Obama covered up for him. Literally. Bill Clinton went to his island. So you've got now two presidents, Democrat presidents implicated. Joe Biden did nothing. He sat on the files and covered it up. You've got now the Senate Minority Leader, Chuck Schumer, taking money from him. You've got Hakeem Jeffries, the House Minority Leader, taking money from him. This is just literally the tip of the iceberg. This is a Democrat scandal all the way. And Trump is the one covering this up? In terms of the public media perception. It's incredible. Now, let me tell you, and you're talking about prices. He's got to go out there and talk more to the American people. You're right. Look, he's got another problem. And I don't mean to do this because I want to stick to Epstein, but you have to be aware of this. We'll even talk about it if you want. Like, as I like to say, let's throw a log on the fire. Now, it's a Fox News poll. It's going everywhere. Again, it's one poll, but it's coming from Fox News. So people are taking it a little bit more seriously. According now to the latest Fox News poll, 76% of voters now view Trump's economy negatively. 76%. In fact, I'm going just by the Fox poll. 70% at the end of Biden's term said that the economy was bad. 70. So technically, people now say the economy is worse under Trump than it was under Biden. Or to be more accurate, they're more unhappy with the economy under Trump than under Biden. He's underwater on the economy. He's underwater on jobs. He's underwater on inflation / affordability. And 62% say Trump now owns the economy. Like, you can say it's all Biden's fault, which it is, but I'm just saying to 62% of voters now, they go, look, yeah, we know it's Biden's fault, but you promised to clean up the mess. You're not cleaning up the mess. That's what they're saying. And now you own this economy. Okay, lines are jammed. Now, before I go to the phone lines, again, this is a major Fox News poll. Again, it's one poll. I don't want to, I'm not saying the sky is falling, far from it. The reason why I'm highlighting the poll is because if I can be, again, brutally honest with you, like I'm in the confessional, the number one complaint I get from listeners about Trump, and remember, this is MAGA, these are, we love him, the listeners love him. I mean, this is his base. And I get this over and over and over and over. It doesn't stop. And it's been increasing now over the last, I'd say, 2 to 3 months. Last month in particular, it's hundreds of these kinds of emails every day. Every day. Never mind on the text line. Love Trump. Love what he's doing. But he's got to focus more at home. And this is what many of you say over and over again. That's why I think there's something to this Fox News poll. This is what many of you tell me. Jeff, my groceries are still way too high. My health insurance, way too high. Insurance of any kind, just in general, car insurance, home insurance, whatever. It's all way too high. My utility bills, electric bills, too high. Gas is still too high. Rent, too high. In other words, the cost of living is just too high. And we're feeling left behind. And he's traveling around the world and he's cutting peace deals. And yeah, maybe these trade deals eventually will manifest. And we see all these he had the Saudis come in. Yesterday, and he held a big Saudi summit, and I know there's a $1 trillion deal, but they're saying, we're not feeling it. Whatever's going on, we're not feeling it. So, according now to this Fox News poll, as I said, 76% of voters view the economy negatively. That's higher than at the end of Biden's term, which was 70%. So, this is unbelievable, but they're actually saying that at least their perception is that the economy under Trump is worse than under Biden. 62% now say this is Trump's economy, meaning we elected you to clean it up. Forget about Biden. We know he caused all this. You got to clean up the mess. We don't think you're cleaning up the mess. Now, large numbers, these are majorities, including among Republicans, say that their costs for groceries, utilities, healthcare, and housing have gone up this year. So gas, I guess, is for many of you know, it's gone a bit down, but groceries up, utilities up, healthcare up, rent / housing up. I want to ask you, is that true? In your personal life, is that true? Anyway, now both parties are down. It's not that the public is saying, oh, we want the Democrats or we love the Democrats. It's basically a massive 5-alarm fire, a 5-alarm fire that to Trump saying, you got to focus now at home. Costs are too high. Inflation is too high. There is an affordability crisis. It's why the radical left is getting elected. They don't have the solutions, but they're identifying the problem and they're at least speaking to the problem. And Trump has the solutions, but they want him to much more aggressively implement it and really now focus like a laser beam. And so let me throw again this log on the fire. Amidst all this Epstein firestorm, and this is, by the way, one of Trump's key arguments. He's saying, look, I'm doing everything I can now to drive affordability down. We're not able to get our message out because it's all Epstein, 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 Epstein. So he says, I know there's a problem. He thinks a lot of it is perception driven by the media. I'm not so sure. Yes, part of it is that. No question. Look, my wife complains to me. She's the finance minister. And every day almost, certainly every week, she says, I'm telling you, Jeff, it's still too expensive. The bills are too high. The groceries are too high. The utilities are too high. It's just too high. We're making ends meet. Don't get me wrong. But she's like, man, life is expensive. So she's saying Trump's got to deal with this, like now. Because if he doesn't start turning things around quickly, he's going to get wiped out. There's going to be a blue wave. Agree, disagree? Jeff in Quincy. Thanks for holding, Jeff, and welcome.
Hey, how you doing today? I got two things to say.
Yes,
first of all,
go ahead,
Corey
Jeff.
Mills is going to get bailed out by the taxpayer slush fund that takes care of these sexual assault allegations with congressmen that should be opened up, and we should be able to see who's gotten paid out on that, first of all. What do you think?
Oh, I agree completely. You're dead on. Jeff, you can't see me, obviously, but I'm just nodding my head. I'm like, yep. Jeff's on fire. And Jeff, what's your second point?
My second point is Republicans are turds when it comes to messaging. Like, Democrats caused 40% inflation in this country over 4 years. And somehow it's Donald Trump's fault because no one's out there talking about it. And I agree, Donald Trump has to get domestic. Enough of the nonsense overseas. It's out of control. It, literally needs to be dealt with at home, and they need to get messaging out. There's nothing you can do about the high costs now. Let's face the facts, they're not going down. And everyone thinks that they're going to lower prices, and he's had a year. It took 16 months for Biden's inflation to kick in and go through the roof. People need to take a chill pill. I know things are expensive, I agree, but they're not going to compound. Let's be real. And do you think Democrats are going to lower the cost of anything? No, they're not. They're useless. They're basically nothing more than a domestic terrorist organization. And as far as the Epstein files go, I called Stacey Plaskett's office yesterday and asked if I could have her personal cell phone number. They wouldn't give it to me. I don't know why I can't talk to the constituent.
Jeff, bang, bang, bang. What a call. What a call. Drop the mic, Jeff. Thank you for that call. 617-266-6868. Well, look, that's the thing. Biden created the inflation. We're living now. This is Biden's economy. I know the voters are saying now it's Trump's economy. Okay. But, I think Jeff and Quincy nailed it. My God, are the Republicans horrible at messaging. And this is what I mean. This is why I tied the two together. How is this now, Epstein is now Trump's scandal? How did that happen? And now Biden's economy is now Trump's economy. How did that happen? Now, look, I just want to say this because I look at this audience really like an extended family. Okay. So the conversations that really I'm having with you mirror identically almost word for word that I have with my wife and my children at the dinner table. This is what I told Grace. I'm going to share the exact same thing with you. Maybe some of you are too young to remember this, but I remember the 80s very well. Reagan passes his economic program in 81, basically his version of the big, beautiful bill. The economy under Reagan was still bad going into 82, even early 83. In other words, Reagan did poorly in the 82 midterms because, the inflation rate was still too high. Interest rates were too high. Unemployment was too high. It took time. Now, by 83, the economy really starts going like gangbusters. And then by 84, it's really morning again in America. And that's when Reagan coasts to an absolute landslide. My point is, it took Reagan about 18 months to 2 years to turn the ship around. Trump it's only 10 months on the job. So, and Americans now are much more impatient now than they were 45 years ago. But I think a lot of it is, and Trump's team keeps saying this, wait, next year, I'm telling you, the economy is going to skyrocket. All these trillions of dollars in investment, they're going to start to kick in. Jerome Powell's going to be out. They're going to lower interest rates even more. The tax cuts are really going to kick in. The regulation cuts are going to kick in. These things take time. But when they all start kicking in, when they're clicking on all cylinders, this baby is going to boom. So we'll see. Fingers crossed. I think they're right. In fact, I know they're right. I know it's just a question of time, but I want this to get going sooner because we lose the midterms. Let's say the House. Trump's playing defense for the last 2 years of his presidency. We've lost the initiative. They're going to defund everything, including, by the way, ICE. The deportations are going to stop, and they're going to impeach on nothing. So I want this economy to really start to skyrocket so we blunt the blue wave and hold on to the House and the Senate. We do that, then Trump's really got 4 years to fix everything. So that's why I'm pushing him. Look, you got to stop. Okay, we prevented Iran from getting the bomb. Great. Okay, fine. Things had to be done. But you got to focus at home now. Literally, it's got to be America first, America only. And this is what I don't think he gets in terms of his messaging, respectfully. The more he keeps talking about, I got 8 peace deals. I'm the peace president. Look, peace is important, obviously. But the more you're reinforcing to voters, you're a foreign policy president. Now, here's the irony. You look at the polls. Do you know he gets great marks, for foreign policy? When you think Trump, of course he was very good in foreign policy in his first term. But what do you think? America first. The economy, it took off under Trump. My God, the stock market, wages, jobs, standard of living. We never had it so good until COVID came. Now it's like everything is flipped. Even many Democrats grudgingly admit, well, no, he's been really good on foreign policy. He stopped that war between Israel and Hamas. The New York Times praised him now for the UN Security Council approving his Gaza peace plan. The New York Times, yes, hell just froze over, praised him for his Gaza peace plan. So what I'm saying is he's getting high marks on foreign policy, but that's not what he was elected to do. He was elected to fix problems at home, and that's now where the perception is starting to consolidate. And when you ask people, they say over and over again, he's too focused on foreign affairs. He's too focused on things around the world. That's even among his own voters. That I can tell you because I get that all the time. That's the number one complaint I get. Jeff, stop focusing so much on foreign affairs about Trump, and everything is still too expensive. If I had $1 for every time I got a text message or an email or a message, or even people on the street who see me, they go, please tell Trump, focus more at home. Everything is just too high. I'd be a millionaire. I'm telling you, I'd be a millionaire. So if Trump's people are listening, it's got to be all hands on deck. It's the economy, stupid. Dan in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Dan, and welcome.
Thanks for taking the call, Jeff.
My pleasure, Dan.
You know, I speak with a lot of young people, and quite honestly, they're losing hope. They're losing the thought of the American dream. You know, they see their parents in nice homes. They grew up in nice homes. And then all of a sudden, you can have a nice home, but it's going to be a 50-year mortgage. And, you know, they can see what we've all had and how it's gone in this country, and everybody has been, you know, for generations doing pretty well. And now you can see crunch time. You can see that people can't afford their rent. The average 27, 28, 30-year-old can't afford a home. Everybody's, you know, maxed out because great, you want to buy some hamburger, $10 a pound. You want a cheap roast. Okay, that's going to cost you $30. I do see some things, I have to say, eggs, and there are other things that are going down. But you're right. We need to focus on what's going on in this country because, like I said, people are losing hope. And when you start to see Epstein Island and P. Diddy and all of this corruption that only rich people can afford and also only that rich people can hide behind these curtains and never be found out, that it's okay for them but not okay for us. And I see why Trump is doing what he's doing internationally, because we were in a powder keg. Let's face it. You know, we had wars all the way around the world. Let's face it. How do you have fair trade and do business in a world that's ready to blow up? So I can understand. I can understand that he has to take care of some of those things. So it kind of trickles back into our country that we can actually do business and profit and try to get the wheel rolling again.
Dan, we just suddenly lost you all of a sudden. Okay, Dan, it wasn't us. Something happened on your end. Dan, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but the way you were, the tone, the way you were heading, it was like, I understand he had to do certain things, but the sense I got from the direction of your call is he's got to focus now more at home. And let me just very quickly, look at young people now, say they're in their 20s, okay, just objectively. Again, just stand back. They are now the most indebted generation in history. They come out of college with mountains of debt. I'm talking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. Many of them have to pile up credit card debt just to buy groceries. Literally, just to buy groceries. They're looking at rents that are $3,000, $3,500, $4,000. They got to pay student loans up the wazoo. They got to pay massive taxes. Everything is expensive. Everything. You want to buy a car, it's expensive. I just mentioned rent. It's barely affordable. Groceries, expensive. Everything is expensive. Healthcare is going up and up and up. Everything is expensive. So they're like, I'm working, and all I'm doing is getting more and more into debt. And now, we talked about this before, the average age of a first-time home buyer, it used to be the late 20s, 27, 28, 29. People got their first home. Now it's 42. And I'm talking red states, blue states combined. In blue states, it's almost 50. Remember, red states, cost of living is lower in red states than in blue states. So, say Massachusetts, just take Massachusetts. In a way, I'm not excusing because socialism is really bad. It makes everything much, much worse. But in a way, that explains Mamdani for a lot of young people. They're like, well, it's true. I can't afford anything. Well, let me give this guy a shot. Who knows? Now, they're ignorant. They don't know history. They don't know what socialism has done. But what I'm saying is, that's why the radical left is feasting. They're preying on this. And young people in particular. So what I'm saying is, as a country, this should be our number one priority. And I don't get this. Look, really, you can agree or disagree. I'm just being honest with you. We're $38 trillion in debt. please listen to me. 38 trillion. That's an unimaginable number. We spend $1 trillion a year just servicing the interest on the debt. We're not paying a penny in principal. Literally $1 trillion, boom, just for interest. By the way, the bankers, the globalists, the financial class, they're the ones making all the money. That's $1 trillion in their pocket. It's a massive transfer of wealth from the middle class to these globalists, the 1%. So what I'm saying is, we don't even have the money anymore to be a superpower. Like, I look at this and I'm like, well, we're going to send 4 and 8 to this country and that country. And now they're talking about another peace plan for Ukraine. They're floating that out. I'm like, guys, we're broke. Sober up. Get out of the bar. Like, really? Credit card debt now is at an all-time high. Private debt, all-time high. Public debt, all-time high. Eventually, the Ponzi scheme is going to collapse. It's mathematics. It's arithmetic. It's not liberal, conservative, Republican, Democrat. And that's why MAGA is saying as loud and clear as we can, fix our country before it's too late. Because you reach a certain point where there's no going back. And I don't want to see us become the United States of Argentina. Agree, disagree. Cheryl in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Cheryl, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Cheryl?
Good, good. I just wanted to make a comment about the Epstein files.
Yes.
America has short-term memory loss. In 2019, Trump is the one who put Epstein in prison, correct?
That's right. That's right.
That's right. So I don't understand why he wouldn't do that if Epstein had something on him and was going to squeal on him. But why don't we ask Larry Summers? He gets to quietly quit. I don't understand why we don't ask him who was on the island. Who was he with?
Well, Cheryl, can you do me a favor? I'm up against the break. You've opened the door, and I want us to walk through it together because there's another question I want to ask. And it's not just about Larry Summers. It's about Thomas Massey, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and the victims. So, Cheryl, please hang on. I'm going to come right back to you and take all of your calls. 617-266-6868. Okay, let's go right back to Cheryl in New Hampshire. She opened a very important door saying, well, look, Jeff, Larry Summers, for example, I'm talking a top Democrat. Okay, in some ways, the epitome of the Democratic establishment. Treasury Secretary under Clinton, top economic advisor to Obama, former president of Harvard University. This is a man who really runs very high in Democrat circles. He's basically now finished. Harvard has told him, you're not teaching here anymore. He's disgraced. He's been kicked off almost every board. Now he says he just wants to be left alone and retire from the public view. And Cheryl made a very good point. Well, A, why should he just be allowed to retreat or retire from public view? Why isn't he held accountable for all of his crimes that he committed with Epstein? Excellent point. And she makes another very good point. Why doesn't Larry Summers just tell us? He knows many of the names. He knows who was there. He knows who was, who were diddling underage girls and who wasn't. Cheryl, did I sum up your position accurately?
He needs to come clean, and we need to pressure him to come clean. We only pressure Trump and Trump's people. We have someone here who's admitted he was there, he was on the island, he's done whatever, but yet we don't even ask him a question. We just let him fade off into the sunset.
That's a great point. Cheryl, this is the door I want to open with you and walk through. It's not just Larry Summers. You have the victims themselves. Not that I'm blaming them, but I'm just saying you have the victims themselves who they know the names. Why don't they say the names? Okay, the counter argument is, well, these are powerful people. They could get sued or they're afraid for their lives. Okay. But then Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie, among others, said, but if we go on the floor of the House and we list the names, because they're members of Congress, they are legally protected from any potential lawsuit. And so MTG and Thomas Massie have been threatening this for months. We're going to go and we're going to just list the names. We know who the names are. We're just going to say them out loud. Why haven't the victims given the names or, given out the names? And why haven't MTG and Thomas Massie gone out there and read out the names? So all they have to do is not just talk the talk, but walk the walk. They've been saying they're going to do it. Why won't they do it? Why haven't they done it? What's your theory, Cheryl?
The victims, I don't understand why they wouldn't and why I understand that they're afraid and they probably have families now that they're trying to protect. But if you put the name out there, then how are they're not going to harm you because now we all know who it is. It's, whoever, Joe Schmo. Now we know that name. So if you disappear from Earth, he's going to be the first person we go to. So the victims, I don't understand why they won't come clean. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Massie, they're just rhinos. This is all for show. If Marjorie Taylor Greene, especially as a woman, if my friend was sexually assaulted, you better believe I'd be shouting those names from the rooftop. So she's not a friend to women. She doesn't protect women. She's full of crap, and she's just out there for show.
Do you, because Sandy is convinced of this, she tells me this all the time, that essentially she's a media hog. That ultimately, this is not me, this is Sandy. Sandy says, no, she just wants attention. She'll do anything for attention. She loves the limelight. And that explains a lot of her pushing this issue and being so vocal in public about it. Is that your feeling as well, Cheryl? That Marjorie Taylor Greene is more interested in the attention, the fact that she's in front of the cameras than she really is about helping the victims?
She just wants the attention. If she was about helping the victims, the second she knew those names, she would have put them out there, regardless of the consequences. To protect all women, as they always say, but they never protect the women. Interesting.
Cheryl, thank you very much for that call. Okay, look, let me ask all of you. It is the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's. Mario's quality roofing, siding, and windows. Now that President Trump has signed the bill, okay, the Epstein bill, and the DOJ now, Pam Bondi's got 30 days to release all the files. So the files are going to be, they're coming. Who do you credit with releasing the Epstein files? Who ultimately do you think deserves the credit? A, President Trump. B, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massie, and friends. Who do you think ultimately should get the credit for releasing the files? A, Trump. B, MTG, Thomas Massie, and the band of renegades. Let's put or the band of rebels in Congress. A or B, you can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner, KUHN as in National ER. You can also vote via X. And again, last night, Kuhner Man, very active on X. My handle there, at the Kuhner Report, all one word, at the Kuhner Report, KUHN as in National ER. Okay, super quick, because I wanted, the lines they're not blazing, they're screaming. So I want to go to the phones. I promise. Trump now, to deal with this affordability issue or to lower costs, has apparently now been lowering tariffs. He has deliberately ordered that tariffs be lowered, in particular on certain key staples of food. Coffee. He's lowering tariffs on coffee being imported into the United States. Beef, and I got to tell you, beef is expensive. I don't know what the hell is going on, but man, is beef expensive. I'm talking whatever. You want to buy some, hamburgers, whatever, beef patties, even just, ground beef to make, say, pasta and meat sauce or whatever. It is a bomb. Never mind steaks. It's expensive. It's really expensive. Anyway, he's lowering tariffs on beef, bananas, orange juice. So he's getting the message. And so he's going to try to do everything he can to try to get, rein in some of these prices. Okay, I want to read. This is a text that sums up, I wouldn't say all of you, far from it, but certainly a good slice of Kuhner country. And this is from 781. You can text the Kuhner man, 70470. And please tell me if you agree or disagree. Jeff, with all due respect, Trump is not Ronald Reagan. Trump insulted our allies, dried up tourism, and even dried up some of our trade. The tariffs he imposed are ever changing, and they have assaulted the certainty and confidence investors and businesses need to thrive. Yes, under Biden, prices were high, but revenue was also relatively stable. Now, prices are high, but wages are dropping and business has stalled. His policies and demeanor are the opposite of Reagan. And the fact that his administration just rolled back some tariffs on food like coffee, beef, and bananas is an acknowledgement that this is part of the problem. So, let me throw this log on the fire. Do you think Trump went too far, too fast on the tariffs? And maybe is this starting to backfire against him and the economy? Personally, I'm a big tariff guy. I love tariffs. I believe we need tariffs. I support a tariff regime. And I think this will all work out really well for us, probably by next year, certainly after a couple of years. When you're trying to undo 35 years of disastrous globalism and unfair trade, it takes time. It takes time. He doesn't have a magic wand. But that's my point of view. I want to hear from you. 617-266-6868. Rob in Westwood. Thanks for holding, Rob, and welcome.
Jeff. Jeff, let me pull you off the ledge, will you, for God's sake? Hey, when you gassed your car up today, okay, I remember it was $4.55. I've gassed it up at $2.67. You look at inflation. It was over 20% with Biden. It's now at 2%. Trump understands business, understands the economy. To have an affordable life, you need great jobs, not the ones that AI are going to knock out over the next 6 months, 8 months. And that's what it's all about, affordability. And that guy who just gave you that stupid email, he is definitely like a rhino. The problem is with that guy is Trump is getting rid of all this fat that he's been mooching off. That's his problem. Listen, folks, the Republicans are never going to do anything for Trump. It's up to us to do everything for Trump. We are the apprentice, okay? Every time the Republicans are supposed to be talking up this economy, they never do. They don't know how to fight. They never will fight. Look at our Republican chairperson there. She didn't put a single candidate up in 2024 when Trump was running. These are all rhinos.
Oh, are you talking about Amy Carnevale, the chair of the Mass GOP?
She didn't put any candidates up in 2024.
Are you talking about Carnevale?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my point. I mean, my God, how this woman still has a job is beyond me. But let that go. Rob, let me ask you this. On gas, you're 1,000%. I mean, I feel it. Look, I tank up. I'm saving about $25 every time I tank up compared to under Biden. I think there's no question. Look, I just want to ask you about the Fox poll and just ask you this, because this is what they're saying most people are are telling them that when it comes to groceries, utilities, healthcare, and housing, those are the four big ones. And housing means, rent, not just mortgage, but rent. So, Rob, if I ask you, your utilities, your groceries, are they better or worse under Trump? Your healthcare, better or worse under Trump? Housing, more expensive or cheaper under Trump? What's your answer, Rob?
Answer is this. The game just started for us, okay? If you want to talk about utilities, all you Massachusetts people, get on the phone and talk to Governor Moe. She refuses to bring that pipeline. Her and Holcomb out of New York. We'd have more natural gas in here and drop those prices as quick as you could snap your fingers. All healthcare. Remember, these hospitals are all getting destroyed on purpose. The Connie went under. Quincy Medical. Brockton went under. They bailed that out. The state, and then you have Norwood. They'll never finish that. Housing. Look at the housing. They just pull up that guy. There are two companies, the biggest renting type of companies, that are in on it, on the fix. This is all the same stuff. They're all in on it, folks. We're on our own. Unless you get educated and don't listen to stupid Fox. No one listens to Fox. For what? Rupert Murdoch?
Rob, thank you for that call. Look, it's Fox. I'm skeptical. No, the only thing is, the reason why I mention it again is because I get a similar complaint from so many of you. And there is a Rasmussen poll out, and Rasmussen is the most accurate. Now, the numbers are nowhere near as dire as the way Fox is painting them. But even Rasmussen now says Trump it's not 76%. It's a majority, or say the economy is negative. But it's not 76%, but still it's a majority where they say, Trump is underwater. A majority say they're not happy with him on inflation. They're not happy with him on the cost of living. They're not happy with him on jobs and wages, and they're not happy with him on the economy. So, Rasmussen is, it's very accurate. Now, again, not as bad as Fox. Their numbers are nowhere near as serious as what Fox is painting. But they're still saying, no, inflation, the number one issue for most Americans is still affordability, inflation, cost of living. And slowly they're starting to blame Trump. Or they're not happy with Trump's prescription so far. They don't feel that his policies are making their lives, their everyday lives better. Agree, disagree. Deb in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Deb, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. Good morning, Kuhner Country.
Deb.
I want everybody to pay attention, and it's good to speak to you again, and I love you and your wife, Grace, in a very non-sexual way. So, MAGA Country, here's the deal. President Trump has been in office really for 60 seconds. Y'all need to chill out. Patience, grasshoppers. We have global conflagrations and a global cabal, pedophilic cabal, on this planet that he's flushing out. We cannot fix this country if there is no country left to fix because it gets blown up. So give him his due and be patient. And Jeff, you're always going after Pam Bondi. Let me tell you, she's brought 40 lawsuits for President Trump that she's won. I don't hear you talking about that, and I love you with all my heart. And remember this too, Kuhner Country. Fox News ain't to be trusted. Why ain't they out there putting out all of Trump's triumphs? Why, Jeff? Tell me that.
Well, I agree. In fact, I'm going to give out some numbers after the break, very quick, because I want to go to the phones. But the economy is actually doing a hell of a lot better than what the media is reporting, the actual numbers. And that's why I think, to be fair to Trump, he's telling Republicans, how come you're not touting these numbers? Again, you're letting the Democrats frame all of the messaging. They're creating this false narrative that the economy is collapsing, that real wages are falling, that, it's all doom and gloom, and somehow it's all my fault. So I'm going to give those numbers, and I think when you hear these numbers, you're going to say, ooh, not too bad. Not too bad, and getting better. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, you need to hear this, all of you. I think this editorial in the latest Investors Business Daily really, I think, hits the nail right on the head. And so they address the issue, whether Trump's economy is good or bad, and what the real numbers say. So this is what they start off with. By the way, it's also very well written. It says now that the message that the Democrats are pushing very hard, and that they want every American to hear, and the media, of course, is echoing this because they're just nothing more than mouthpieces for the Democratic Party, is we have an affordability crisis. Okay, this is now what the Investors Business Daily is saying in their editorial. Real wages are falling. Trump is making it worse. The recent elections show the depth of despair. So this is now the narrative that they're pushing. Now, according to Investors Business Daily, they said we did our own polling. And they said two things are undeniably true. Number one, that optimism about the economy is low. It's as low as it was at the peak of COVID. So they go, there's something going on. People are pessimistic about the economy. And they say, according to the people that they polled, only 34% gave Trump an A or a B grade on his handling of the economy, while 49% give him a D or even an F. So again, he's underwater on the economy. Now, they go, that's true. The polls are not good for him right now. However, they go, if you look at the real data, the economy is doing better, in some ways much better, than what the Democrats and the media will ever admit. And so they go, now listen to this. Apparently now in the third quarter, GDP, which ends, by the way, the third quarter ended in October. Okay, so we're now in the final quarter. GDP the economy grew by 4.2%. In the second quarter, it grew at 3.8%. So what they're saying is the economy is getting hotter and hotter and hotter. In other words, it's 3.8%. Now it's 4.2%. And they go, these are the two quarters that fully fell under Trump's second term. And they go, not only is the economy clearly heating up, basically we're at 4% economic growth, but that this is higher and growing at a faster pace than any other time under the Joe Biden presidency. Now, they go, their point, look, I'm going to read to you straight from the editorial. If anyone other than Trump were in the White House, this would be front page news. In other words, the economy now is growing and it's starting to really take off. Now, furthermore, listen to this. After adjusting for inflation, real wages in the first 8 months of Trump's presidency are up 1%. They're not going down. They're going up. They go, compared to Biden, real wages didn't just drop. They were literally 2% below where they were when he took office. Now, on inflation, they said under Biden, we all lived it, I don't have to even say it, inflation at one point hit 40% under Biden. All of the reason why we have sky-high prices, it's all because of the reckless spending under Biden. That's why everything is so freaking expensive. Now, under Trump, in his first term, inflation was 2%. So far, under Trump 2.0, it's under 3%. It's about 2.6, 2.7%. And by the way, that's with all the tariffs. So, where is the sluggish job growth? They go, that's not true. The fact inflation is now clearly under control. The economy is growing. There's no question. Wages are rising. There's no question. So, how come though, and this is the key question now, right? This is the key. Well, okay, well, if things are getting better, Jeff, how come people aren't feeling it? Okay, here it is. Why are people still complaining about the so-called affordability crisis? Now, listen, I want to read directly from the Investors Business Daily, because that's what I was going to say in the last segment, but let them say it for me. It turns out these are largely blue state problems, not the result of anything Trump has or hasn't done. Now, listen to this. For example, 6 of the 10 states with the highest unemployment rates are heavily Democratic. At the other end, 6 of the 10 states with the lowest unemployment rates are deep red. They're Republican. 9 out of the 10 most expensive states are Democrat states. The only outlier is New Hampshire. That's it. So, Massachusetts, expensive. Rhode Island, expensive. Illinois, expensive. California, expensive. But those are deep blue states. Now, listen to this. All 10 of the lowest cost states are run by Republicans. So the discrepancy between red states and blue states couldn't be clearer. Now, as investors, by the way, the new jobs numbers for September just came in. Beat all expectations, 119,000 jobs created. So even the latest jobs report is confirming exactly what I'm saying right now. Now, according to Investors Business Daily, and I think it's self-evident, middle-class consumers, okay, I'm not talking taxpayers, consumers, you go out there, you want to buy, it's all expensive. You are paying a very high price for progressive anti-business policies in these blue states. Now, what about the deficits, Jeff? Deficits under Trump are much lower than they ever were under Biden, especially in Biden's last year in office. So the deficit is coming down as well. Now, I want to read the last 3 paragraphs because I think this is brilliant advice to Trump and to his team. And I hope they're paying attention. From our perspective, it's not Trump's policies that are a problem. It's his seeming unwillingness to stay focused on the economy. People are concerned. He should recognize that and address it directly. Talk about his plans to boost private sector job growth, opportunity, wages. Talk about how he's saving taxpayers money by wringing out waste and fraud. Tout his economic wins in a regular and consistent way. And call Democrats out for their reckless attempts to score political wins by tanking the economy. Then rinse and repeat. In other words, okay, to cut through all the jargon, in other words, don't dismiss that people are concerned. Don't dismiss their feelings, their perceptions. And then you've got the winning policies. The economy is clearly starting to do much better. But just keep staying focused on the economy and on message. And just keep talking to people. Address it directly. And say, look, again and again, repeat it ad nauseum. Here are my plans to raise your wages, raise private sector growth, get the economy booming, increase opportunity. We're getting rid of waste, fraud, and abuse. This is only the beginning. Remember, the more illegals we kick out, the lower the cost of housing, the lower the cost of health care, the lower the cost of hospitals. Everything is going to start coming down. And keep reminding everybody of how better the economy is and how it keeps getting better. Now, let me make one final point. I can tell you from my personal experience, gas is clearly down. I think, for the most part, groceries are slightly down. Eggs are down. Other things are down. Beef is up. So it's a bit of a trade-off. Coffee is expensive. My wife complains about it all the time. So some things are more expensive. Some things are less expensive. But overall, honestly, I think groceries are starting to get a little better. What's killing me are my utilities. That's not Trump. That's Maura Healey. You look at your energy bill. You look at your electric bill. That has nothing to do with Donald Trump. That is the insane green energy policies that are driving this state broke and bankrupt. And that their refusal to go to natural gas and oil, to bring in pipelines, and to deliberately keep raising energy costs so that we get off fossil fuels in this state completely, it is economic madness. So Trump has nothing to do with your utility bill. Now, rent, I agree, rent is way too high. Why do you think so? A, not enough supply. That's not Trump's fault. That's Maura Healey. And way too many illegals. Way too many illegals. It's driving the cost of rent through the freaking roof. Trump is trying to clean out the illegals. It's Healey that's turned this state into a sanctuary state. Now, my health care costs, they have gone up. They have. I'm telling you they have. I pay now more for health care than I did last year. Not much more, but I pay more. I do think Trump and the Republicans on this have to come up with an alternative to Obamacare. Obamacare is unsustainable. It was horrible to begin with. It's gotten even worse. It's gotten more expensive. The quality of the care is garbage, and the insurance companies are bleeding us white. They are screwing us. Hundreds of billions of dollars are being shoveled into these health insurance companies, and we're paying even more for health care? And the coverage is horrible. It's garbage care to be, after everything, it's still garbage care. So, look, I do think Trump and the Republicans have to address health care, repeal and replace Obamacare once and for all. But do it before the midterms. I mean, in other words, to members of Congress, sorry, get off your ass. Stop taking vacations. You're always in recess. And put together a freaking bill and pass it. But in the end, this is not a bad economy. It's getting much better. And we're only 10 months in. Give the president time. Trump-onomics is working. Agree, disagree. Brian in Billerica. Thanks for holding, Brian, and welcome.
I originally called to comment, kind of piggyback on what your wife was saying yesterday about the Epstein files.
Yes, go ahead.
But I'd be happy to talk about the economic situation as well. Here's what I think is the problem. First of all, I think your wife was right on track. I think worst case scenario is there's going to be some embarrassing stuff in there for Donald Trump. Nothing criminal, I don't believe. But I think probably the thing that he is most embarrassed about is I think he knew what Jeffrey Epstein was all about before Virginia Giuffre was, as he put it, stolen. And I hate to even bring this guy's name up, but Bill from Sudbury, because he's such a lunatic. By the way, I'll give 100.
You're on a roll, my friend.
and I mean it. You know, you can take my name down after we go off the air. But what he remember when he kept saying his evolving story. I think what he was trying to get at is Trump originally said that he threw Epstein out because he was stealing employees, right? And then if you look at that interview back in July, Trump was on the airplane and he initially said, "I don't know if she worked at Mar-a-Lago." Yeah, I think she did. I think he was very close. Obviously, her father worked there. And there's all these stories about how Trump is always good to his rank and file employees. Her father did an interview and said that how wonderful Trump was to her, that he even set up some babysitting jobs for her with some of the clients of the residents of Mar-a-Lago. When you combine that with one of the emails that came out that said Trump actually, I think it was Epstein saying, of course, the one, of course, he knew about the girls. He spent hours talking to Virginia. I think Trump went to check on her. I think it haunts him what happened to her. And if you look at that interview on the airplane, do you know the one I'm talking about?
Yes.
Just look at his face. You can see like the pain and hurt in his face when her name even gets mentioned. So I think that's where all of this is coming from. I think it's a lot of embarrassing stuff. I think your wife was right. I mean, come on, Jeff, the guy was a womanizer. And this scumbag Epstein's probably got photographs of him, not with underage girls, but just partying, hanging out with girls. And Trump is, let's face it, he's a little thin-skinned, Jeff. He doesn't like to be embarrassed. He's very, very image conscious. And I think that's where a lot of this is coming from. Just that.
Interesting. Very interesting. Brian, look, I can just tell you this, that I think it does bother Trump. In fact, I know it bothers Trump, that they poached Virginia Giuffre, Ghislaine Maxwell, and Epstein did from Mar-a-Lago. And it's not like an ego thing. Oh, you poached my girls. No. They poached her, and then they sex trafficked, and they sexually violated and ruined her. I mean, they assaulted her again and again and again and again. And so that's got to bother you deep down when you see what they did to that poor girl and how they destroyed that poor girl. And her life afterwards is it's just miserable. It's just such a sad, tragic story. If you have a heart, and he does, and you have a conscience, and he does, of course it's going to bother you because she worked for you. I mean, not that he had anything to do with it. They poached her, but I'm just saying, I know I would be at night saying, why didn't I do this? I should have seen the signs. I should have done this. If only I had done this. In fact, what you even ask yourself is, why did I hire her? If I hadn't hired her, they wouldn't have poached her. I mean, that's what I mean. Like, you start to tie yourself up in knots. So I do agree with you. I think there is a lot there. And I think and I think when you deal with a guy like Epstein and you end up finding out what a monster he truly is, you ask yourself, geez, I wish I'd cut off ties earlier. I mean, I know we cut off ties with him way before he was convicted, but I'm sure now in retrospect, you wish you never met the guy. You wish you never saw him. So I think that's another dynamic in all of this. Brian, very nice call. Really, I thought a really insightful call. 617-266-6868. Josh in Reading. Thanks for holding, Josh, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff. Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure, Josh. Go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about the economy that you were...
Yes.
You said whether Biden or Trump's economy was better. Are we better off now than earlier? Obviously, we're better off with Trump. I just wanted to give a perspective from a younger guy going through the rat race as a middle class guy. It's more of I wanted to get your opinion, Jeff. So I'll give you some background here. There's so much competition in the workforce, and my wife and I were very lucky to get into a good job, but the wages were just so low compared to all the prices that's leaving. That's leaving our account. And so you look at where is your wages going? Where's my paycheck going? It's going to all these stupid programs. And the state's doing it, the local government's doing it, and the feds are doing it. So when Trump brings in the tariffs, that sounds great because it brings in more revenue to the feds. But how can you have such high taxes and such high spending when the federal government's getting more income? As in, they should take the tariff revenue and stop taxing us so much. And that gives more revenue to people like me. And that will essentially give the economy more of a boost because, to be honest, under Biden, it was crashing. And that's the other corrective measure, is that if everything crashes, as in people start losing their jobs more, prices go up and up and up, it's going to self-correct itself, the economy, that is, and only the strong will survive. But that's my opinion. I wanted to get your take on it. I
completely agree with you. In fact, Josh, what you're asking or what you're suggesting is what we had for most of our history as a country. The tariff was the tax. In other words, you weren't taxed on anything except a tariff if you bought a foreign good. That's it. And it worked great. It turned us literally into the world's greatest industrial manufacturing superpower and the wealthiest country on the face of the earth. And then inexplicably, we just reversed ourselves. And now we're in the bind that we're in. So I'm completely with you. Look, they tax you way too much. It's highway robbery. And then on top of it all, just look at your energy bill. Look how much you pay for energy, but look at the transportation cost. I've never seen anything like this. Please, just do it. Look at the bill. And you're going to be like, it's 3 times more expensive than the actual energy. And that's what they're trying to do. It's a deliberate strategy. It's deliberate. Every 6 months, they're going to keep raising the prices on our electric bills, our energy bills, because they want to force us to go onto solar or wind. So they're just going to make it so exorbitantly expensive, inordinately expensive. You're going to say, look, forget it. Okay, put on those solar panels. I don't know what else to tell you. So that's what they're trying to do. Now, that's not Trump. That's Maura Healey. And then you add in everything that she's giving to the illegals for free and paying for their housing and, paying for their cell phones and paying for their health care. And, and no one's ever paid anything for you, I'm positive. She's literally transferring wealth from us to the illegal aliens. And that's why, honestly, Josh, for our standard of living in this state, in Massachusetts, the most important election is not the midterm, it's the governor's race. We need a Republican governor, period. We've got to get Maura Healey out. She is the worst, most destructive governor we've ever had. And that's why, Josh, I am seriously considering sometime in December, obviously before Christmas, holding a 2-hour debate on this show between all 3 GOP candidates that want to replace her. 617-266-6868 is the number. I just want to quickly bounce off of Josh's previous call, Josh from Reading. It's really heartbreaking talking about him and, his young partner and how she works, he works, and they're both working and money just keeps getting taken out of their account. Bills, taxes, and they can barely make ends meet. Both of them working, living in Massachusetts, and they're literally hand to mouth, check to check. And just so that everybody knows, Maura Healey, there are now 400,000 illegal aliens in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Remember, we're only a population of 7 million. 400,000 illegals. Every illegal alien family receives $186,000 every year in taxpayer-funded benefits. So to poor Josh and his wonderful, partner, a lot of those taxes, a bulk of those taxes are literally being used for $30,000 to give in housing vouchers to illegals so they can buy, get rent, get rental apartments, $4,000 in EBT cash every single month to get free health care, free cell phones. I mean, I could go on and on and on. $500 every month just to help them with their own food, free cable. This is what you're paying for. This is what I mean when I say we have to beat Healey in next year's election. Like, I don't know if we can survive another 4 years. I'm serious. And if you can't beat this record, then I'm sorry, the Republican Party is completely useless. Completely useless. 617-266-6868. So I just want to read this. This is from 508. You can text the Kuhner Man 70470. And he's referring to Josh as well. Jeff, all of these people who are talking about the state of our economy, job availability, taxes, it is so sad, especially when you consider how the illegals are getting everything for free. We are paying for their comfort and security. Massachusetts could be a place where everyone has enough of everything if it wasn't for Maura Healey's sanctuary state policy. What is her end game? Question mark. What is her motivation to keep pampering these illegals? Why does it not bother her that her constituents are suffering? You can hear it in the people who call in. That's the question. Why does this woman not give a damn about her fellow citizens and constituents? And I think, to me, it's all about power. They have sold their souls for power. Sheldon in Scituate. Thanks for holding, Sheldon, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Sheldon.
I called to talk about the economy, but I totally agree with you. We need one candidate going into next year, not fighting amongst them about minute differences. We need one Republican candidate next year. But
Sheldon, let me ask you this. I want to do this almost as an informal poll. And if people can't call in, which is fine, please email me or text the show and let me know. Would you like me to do a debate 2 hours? There's 3 of them. I will be fair, give each equal time. Everybody can listen, and then you decide who you want to be our candidate. Would you like me to do that? Probably in December, early December?
Absolutely. That's brilliant, Jeff. But that's all the focus on one person.
Okay.
But I called to talk about the economy,
Yes.
and I'm a sales rep for furniture companies that manufacture goods here in, actually our factories are all in Mississippi. The issue is with tariffs are actually now just starting to hit our cost. They went into effect in July, August, September because they were delayed and there was a lot of negotiation. But they're now hitting our cost, and we're running out of inventory on components that unfortunately we can't buy in America. Things like fabric and leather, mills that used to make fabric in Lawrence and Malden, they're all gone because of overregulation by former administrations. Trump has an opportunity to help the American manufacturer succeed and win the battle. The issue is that we're paying those tariffs on the components that we can't get here. And I understand that he's trying to right 35 years of issues or more issues that have been caused by previous administrations. The problem is that most American consumers say, why? I don't want to have to pay that burden. I want to do well. I want to live a better life. I want to live the great American dream. So, in my opinion, he could help these domestic manufacturers if he said to them, listen, 5 years from now, you need to be buying those components from America because we can't snap our fingers and put fabric mills and leather mills and reclining mechanism plants back in America. It's not going to happen overnight. It can happen. But we need some kind of either a tax credit, dollar for every component that we have to pay a tariff on, get a tax credit. That would allow us to reduce our costs because we're having to raise prices just like all the other people because we're paying more for it. Here's the point where you may start to disagree with me. You just talked about the 400,000 illegals that are here in Massachusetts hiding in the system because Maura Healey's allowing it. We will need workers in this country, and this is where Donald Trump could become the next Abraham Lincoln, in my opinion. He's gotten rid of all the bad characters, and there's news stories about him tearing families apart, and I'm sure that may be happening, may not be. It just may be the news. But we're
Sheldon, can you do me a favor? I'm up against a hard break. I want you to finish your thought and not be rushed. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, Sheldon, he's got his ear to the ground. He works in business. He's a salesman. He says we need to have much more of a transition period if we want to undo 35 years of globalism and unfair trade. These tariffs are making things a lot more expensive, at least in his industry. And Trump now at least has to give out tax credits or something to offset because the costs are going up and up. And then Sheldon said on immigration, on deportation, Trump can be the new Lincoln. And then we got cut off because of the break. Sheldon, please pick up where you left off.
So, Jeff, you talked about 400,000 people being here in Massachusetts that are basically feeding off the system. They're hiding. They're probably not paying income tax. They're just taking from the system. We will need workers in the factories that I represent down in the South and in the Midwest and all over this country. In my opinion, yes, they're here illegally. There are a good majority of them that are here, a good percentage of them that are here to do harm, terrorism, etc. But there's also a good percentage of people that are coming here trying to get the American dream and know they didn't come in through the front door correctly. But here's a place where Trump could say, you know what, you didn't come in the right way. We're going to give you an opportunity to work towards citizenship, whether it be 5, 10 years down the road. If you keep your nose clean, don't get as much as a speeding ticket, we're going to give you citizenship at some point down the road. And if you do get a speeding ticket or commit a crime, you're gone. You're out of the country. You're not going to prison here. We're not going to pay for you. You're gone. But those people that he gave that opportunity to, this is where he could become the next Lincoln. Those people would tell their kids and their grandkids, Donald Trump gave me the opportunity to come to this country and become a citizen of the greatest country in the world. I know we're not big fans of amnesty, and I don't know if you call this amnesty or what you call it, but we're living in a different world now, and we need to play by different tactics, in my opinion.
Well, Sheldon, look, let me ask you this besides talking about the amnesty issue. Elon Musk, I can play you the cut. I don't want to waste your time. Elon Musk at a major summit yesterday said in about 10 to 15 years, AI and automation are going to dominate so much of our economy that for most people, his words, not mine, working will become an option. Working will be optional, meaning that it's going to be hard for people to find jobs in the future because everything is going towards robotics, automation, AI. Already now you're hearing story after story, and I'm not talking 100 layoffs, or hundreds of jobs. I'm talking tens and tens of thousands in some of the biggest companies and firms across the economy. People are losing their jobs to AI. My sister-in-law, who's a brilliant communications director, she lives in Arizona, lost her job because they went to AI. And, she's got 2 graduate degrees, 30 years experience. I could go on and on, but a very impressive resume and just a phenomenal communications director. Gone. And she's finding it hard to find work because everybody's converting to AI. My point is this, Sheldon. I think we're living in a different world where we don't need low-skill labor anymore, or not as we used to, because we live in a high-tech, highly automated AI economy. And in fact, now it's the opposite. What now policymakers are looking at, not today, but in 10, 15 years is if you've got 40, 50, 60% of your population that just aren't working because computers have taken over everything, or artificial intelligence or automation, you're going to have to give them a universal basic income. Like whether we like it or not, people have to eat. People have to get health care. People have to have a roof over their head. So what I'm saying is, I don't know if we're going to need all these workers, Sheldon. What we're being told, now you may disagree, you may know better, but people like Elon are saying, no, the future is not in more workers. It's in less workers. What say you?
I listened to that conference yesterday, and he said some very shocking things, talked about not having currency, and it was a really interesting conference. He's a brilliant man. I can't argue with him, and I agree that down the road, AI is going to take a much bigger role. But there is a bridge to that. There have to be people to build those robots that are going to take. So there is a bridge, and if we start thinking about it and working on it now, yes, that's what we need to do. But these people that are just now basically getting a universal income for doing nothing, let's give them a job. Let's have them help build the bridge to get to AI and make it logical so that we don't get there in 10, 15 years and say, oh, shoot, we have to pay all these people now. Let's make it work to get to that point. And I think that's where Trump needs to step up and say, hey, 10, 15 years from now, there's going to be a lot of AI, but let's talk about how we're going to get there instead of getting there and then having a complete mess on our hands.
Sheldon, a very interesting, thought-provoking call, I got to say. Sheldon, thank you very much for that call. Look, I can just say two things very quick. Number one, I think we have enough Native American workers. I don't think we need to rely on illegals. You know, I don't buy this. We have a worker shortage. We don't. In fact, we have millions of American, native-born, or, American workers who are they've given up. They're not in the labor force. They've just literally given up. So let's give our own people jobs before we start talking about giving illegals jobs. That to me, or foreigners jobs. That's number one. Number two, we need an industrial policy. I know it's not fashionable to say it among conservatives and stuff, but look, what you're talking about, Sheldon, is to rebuild our plants, our mills. We need an industrial policy. And just super quick, I had no idea. I thought we were still weaning ourselves off of China. I guess we're not. Do you know that most of what we have in our medicine cabinets still, even after COVID, is made in China? The components of it. I'm talking, aspirin, anti-allergy medication, whatever it is. Most of those components are still made in China. Anti-epilepsy drugs made in China. Much of our insulin made in China. I'm type 2 diabetic. Now, God forbid, if we get into an economic or trade war with China, well, what are we going to do? So what? They're going to cut off the insulin? I'm serious. You know how many type 2 diabetics we have? What? So we're making ourselves so dependent on China. We need an industrial policy. There are certain things, like pharmaceuticals, life and death. Without insulin, the Kuhner man's dead. I mean, I'm not saying overnight, but my sugar level will keep spiking and spiking and spiking, and eventually my liver gives out, or my heart, or whatever. What I'm saying is certain drugs, certain medications, and yes, certain industries are so necessary to the survival of the United States, to the independence of the United States. We need an industrial policy. And that's why on that, I'm with Sheldon, not on amnesty for illegals. But when he says, hey, we can't just, in 2 weeks, you start raising tariffs, we need some help. So we've got to have an industrial policy. To me, I'm sorry. I don't care what the Wall Street Journal says. 617-266-6868. Scott in North Andover. Thanks for holding, Scott, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Scott.
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Welcome, Scott.
We have to get back to the economy and Trump being underwater, supposedly. And that's all coming from the Democrats, the propaganda media. We don't have an honest media. The administration tries to get the word out, but you get Besson and you get Miller on a couple of spots here and there. It's not enough. Like you said, the president needs to get out and address the nation and tell them how well we're doing. Tell them that this is a democratic problem, that the blue states are the ones that are underwater. And it has a lot to do with sanctuary cities, high taxes, all the electric, regulations against everything. Our own state, just denying that gas line, that's a big reason why our energy bills are so high. And the administration, they're trying to do it. But, you get the positive reports on CNBC. How many people watch that? A spot here and there on Fox, Newsmax. Not many people see it. They need to get the message out more. And as far as the inflation, we know what happened. When COVID came, we had
They buried us. No, really, look, we never have really recovered yet from COVID. 617-266-6868. Mark in Milton. Thanks for holding, Mark, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff, thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure, Mark.
Overall, the problem with the economy is actual economics, and you've touched on it a number of times, as have many callers. But I'd like to highlight what two governors of Massachusetts have done. Maura Healey, and I believe she's actually backing off on her claim when she was getting reelected about how she stopped 2 gas lines. So she's already backing off on that, but her legislative actions have driven utility costs up. I don't know if most people remember, but when Mitt Romney brought in Romneycare, which was the precursor to Obamacare.
Yes.
Prices of health insurance, health insurance, not health treatments, skyrocketed.
Mm-hmm.
It was double digits into the 20s for several years. So in both of these cases, supply is being affected. In Romney's case, he mandated a supply. So the suppliers of that insurance said, hey, we can charge more, and they did. In Healey's case, by restricting and then adding on pricing, again, a price increase. Here's where we are currently. 20 million illegals over Biden's term. How many other illegals prior to that? At least 20 million. I feel there's somewhere between 40 and 60 million illegals
You're
in
dead
the country.
on. Mark, you're dead on.
So
let's just say 40, just to be super conservative, okay? Let's say minimum 40. Let's just say 40 million. You're right. I think it's as high as 60, but just for the sake of argument, say 40 million. Keep going, Mark.
Okay, so 40 million. I know it's not an auction, but when people go to the grocery store, they're bidding on products. So when Lay's potato chips can sell a crap load of Lay's potato chips, their demand goes up, and what happens to their price?
It goes up.
Same with beef. When so many more people are buying beef, the demand for beef goes up. Boom. You mentioned housing. Of course. How can people who have to pay for it out of their own pocket compete with people who don't have to pay for it out of their own pocket? Prices go up. I'm not an economics professor, and I only took a couple rudimentary courses in college. But in order to fix the economy so that people like you and I who work hard, make reasonable money, can prosper, so our children, mine are a little older than yours, both have houses and they've got great jobs, wives have great jobs, yada, 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 and they're scraping by. We have to remove I'm going to call it the fake demand. That's what I called it when Mitt Romney.
Oh, you nailed it. Mark, honestly, genius. No, really, I'm serious. Genius. Absolute genius. You're right. It's basics, and I love the way you laid it out. So simply, so clearly, so coherently, so cogently. It's supply and demand. It's that simple. And Mark, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but basically, to even simplify just a tad more, what you're really saying is, look, Jeff, let's leave out the 60 million. Okay, let's go low, 40 million. Remove 14 million people from the United States who shouldn't be here. What's going to happen to prices? It's going to go down. Mark, am I wrong?
Exactly. Demand will drop. Prices will go down to a reasonable. And let's talk more about illegals. I don't subscribe to a minimum wage being a living wage. But why is minimum wage at 15? Why isn't it 18 or 20 or 25? Let me tell you why. It's because illegals have continuously and continually accepted jobs at lower wages, so that you know that that every restaurant employee is underpaid, every landscaping, every manufacturing. everything about illegals damages the economy. There is nothing that illegals do that improves the economy. There's nothing. There's not one thing.
And on top of the crime that they bring, the diseases, I mean, I could go on and on. All the other social problems that they bring with them. Mark, you're on fire. Mark, you're right. And this is the other thing. And I'm going to have to end it at this, Mark, but just because I want to get to Ann and Hull. But masterclass, okay? But think about it. It's not just that they work under the table and they're undercutting wages, right, for everybody else. They're also getting $186,000 per family. I mean, ay. So they're making $250,000 a year when you combine all the benefits and what they're making under the table. That's why they're driving around in beautiful pickup trucks. That's why you see them with 2 carts of food. That's why you see them with brand new sneakers. That's why you see them with all these beautiful iPhones. And you're like, I'm struggling and they're on Easy Street. What the hell's going on? Ann in Hull, I hate to do this to you, Ann. You've got less than 1 minute. Go.
I only have a question.
Yes.
I was wondering if Trump derangement syndrome is covered under Obamacare.
And should I do a debate with the 3 Republican candidates for governor? You like it? Yes. I just need a yes or a no.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Ann. I think most of you want one. So I'm going to talk to Sandy. She's going to reach out to the campaigns and we'll set up a day and a time. It'll be at least a 2-hour debate.